In your opinion, Jeff, the role of a salesperson back then versus the role of a salesperson in 2025, what is the main difference?
Pressure. I think there's a lot more pressure to deliver the numbers. There's always been pressure to deliver. I mean, you always wanted to hit your territory number. The economy is different. It's a lot more cutthroat than it used to be. And the economy now, in terms of our business, is much more packed, tight. When I was younger, whether it was at Biorad or biotech early in my career, the big players out there. And there were a couple smaller companies and startups and small biotechs that competed with us, but we were so well known and there were less options. Now there are many, many more options. There are a ton of different companies. We see them every day. We're the ones contacting these companies looking for partnerships with them. So I think overall, the competition is tougher and the pressure from your company, if you're working in corporate America, is tougher than it was back in the day. And again, it's not to say that there wasn't pressure. I mean, everybody wanted to hit their numbers and succeed, but I see it all the time. There's so much pressure to deliver, even without tools, all the tools you need and those sorts of things. So I think that's the biggest difference. As far as the role with the customer, I think it's exactly the same. A good salesperson always is a consultant. You're working with the customer, listening to what their needs are, and trying to create a solution for them to make their lives easier. And that was the same back then as it is now. The best sales reps have that attitude and that approach.
Absolutely. I think one of the big differences as well is, because of technology, you would think it'd be easier to reach out to customers and to build that relationship, that bond. Um, but it's almost like it's harder to get in-person meetings at this point because customers are just so used to seeing you on the screen,
Yeah.
and nothing, as you know, beats in person. And so you're missing a lot of that body language and the little intricacies of how a conversation happens. That's one thing I noticed as well.
Yeah. Thank you, COVID, because that's what really did it. I mean, we did have video conferencing and all that kind of stuff, but the best business still is conducted in person on both sides. You get the measure of the person, for one thing, on both sides. And, to really generate trust, I still feel that handshakes are important. Also, from a sales standpoint, it is much harder to understand, there aren't as many tells on a video conference. If a
Hmm.
customer is tuned out, it's harder to see that on a call. It's much harder to feel the vibe of the room, so to speak.
Call and like half the customers have their cameras off.
Yeah, that's right. It's unfortunate. Now, it has made us more efficient. We're able to have more meetings, maybe. When I was at Biorad, for instance, we had some metrics while I was in the field. We had to average 3 sales calls, in person visits a day. However, you arrange them, we were free to do all that. So when you think about it, nowadays, 2 or 3 calls doesn't seem like a lot. A lot of people have a lot more. But the value of the calls that I had with my customers was much higher in person than it ever has been on a conference call, unless you already know the person.
Typically, you would stay there much longer than like a video call or
Yeah, and then you'd
uh,
have the opportunity to meet other people while you're there. That's another thing. You're able to touch more bases while you're on campus, so to speak, in an institution. And then when you're sitting in a meeting, let's say you have a really good one with a couple people about whatever topic, they're like, "Hey, Dr. So and so or my colleague definitely would be interested in hearing what you have to say too. Let me introduce you to him." And so you go introduce yourself to the guy or a gal and set a meeting.
absolutely.
Maybe, hey, I'll be in touch. I'll send you an email. And so I do think in-person
You
networking
miss-
is so much easier in person.
Absolutely. I find the art of the small talk as well is lost. And I think that's where you really build the
Yeah,
relationship with customers, right? That those kind of conversations, walking from the door to their office or them asking you if you want a coffee and you say yes. So you walk to the cafeteria and the
yeah,
conversations you have in between the actual official meeting,